The Press Secretary of the President's Office, Mr. Masud Imad, joins us right now on the phone line. Good having you, sir. Thanks so much for joining in. It must be some definitive reason for the Maldives government to cancel its biggest foreign direct investment. Why have you decided to do so?
Well, let me tell you this. Let me make you a correction. This is not the biggest foreign investment. State Bank of India is a bigger investment here and has a longer, very good relationship with us here in Maldives. It's an investment from India. GMR may have been just one big mistake that the former government made, rightly or wrongly, knowingly or unknowingly. So, having said that, why did we have to terminate this? We have had problems from the very inception. There were terms that the former government had given to GMR that were not possible under the current constitution and the legal system here. For example, the small example is the ADC thing. No levies of taxes could be without parliamentary approval, but the former government had in the agreement given the agreement authorized them to levy taxes, which was not legally possible here. So that was a sticking point there. Number two was that, after 3 years of operation, Maldivian government has to pay its, tenant, the GMR, $3.5 million. How do you justify this?
Sure. Okay, a couple of questions really to that. One is that the GMR group says that they haven't even gone ahead and levied the charges as of now. They have just shared the revenues. They haven't levied the charges, and they have shared the revenues with MSCL. How would you respond to that?
No, they are already taking off the rent that they have to pay, their concession fees that they have got to pay. They couldn't levy it because it would be illegal, but they are deducting it from the concession fees that they have to pay the MSCL. And MSCL is going broke. MSCL now has to pay $3.5 million to GMR in the last 3 years.
Well, the point, Mr. Masood, is that this is a legally binding agreement and won over by a consortium, which is GMR and the Malaysian airports body. And this is a legally binding agreement which has been done via bidding process. It's a fair and transparent agreement that has been entered into 3 years ago. How can a government which changes suddenly say that this agreement is null and void and therefore throw the operator out?
Well, see, you cannot take it at the face value of what is being said. You got to when you make a classification like that, say it was a valid agreement, you got to see the conditions under which the agreement was signed. The agreement was not signed under transparent conditions. It was dubious at the very beginning, and the Maldivian public and various other watchdog systems have been shouting out loud saying that it was dubious and it's not correct from the very inception. So, having said that, number two. The GMR was supposed to bring in the investment. It never brought in the investment. It's only managing the system.
From what I understand, sir, GMR has invested close to $220 million in the project already.
Yeah, that's what you understand. We just got to wait and see if that is true. $220 million, where it came from. Or is it been simply taken from the airport and invested in there? If that's the case, the GMR never brought it. It was money that's already there.
So are you saying that GMR has made an investment which is substantially lesser than the amount that is being spoken about? And if so, what's your estimate of the investment being done by the group?
Well, the MSCL is looking into this, and our legal system is looking into this. On the question of why did we scrap the thing, we had a legal team advising us. We had lawyers from England and Singapore looking at the agreement and the situation and the conditions that MSCL was going through, and they have advised us that this agreement is void ab initio, and that it could be terminated under legal conditions. This agreement is governed by the British law, according to them, and according to the agreement, the GMR could be given only 5 days notice. But I understand that they were given 7 days notice to hand over the system, and a month to take what is theirs, and if they want to ship it out or whatever.
From what I understand, that this could be a long-standing legal tussle. I'm just working with the hypothesis that GMR is saying, of course, that they will take legal recourse to this as well, as would be expected naturally so.
No.
What happens?
Hold on a second. hold on a second. We have been proactive. We have already, after having advised MSEL to terminate the agreement, we have already started the process of arbitration to see what the compensation that we have to give GMR. We do understand that there is going to be a process of compensating.
Which is good. Then two more questions, sir. From what I understand, and naturally so, that there will be a legal recourse that both the bodies who are operating the airport right now would take. Assuming that the handover is not done in the next 7 days, what happens then? Because clearly the group which you are asking to leave believes that they have been in right terms of the agreement. They have not violated any terms of the agreement under which they won the contract in the first place. What happens if
you got to see the agreement. The agreement says that the Maldivian, the MSEL could, if they wish to, terminate the agreement with a 5 days notice. That's what they have done, and that's the one on which the GMR signature is on. That's perfectly legal.
Isn't this a bit strange? Simply because from a perspective, I mean, we're just speaking to a couple of bankers, etc. From the perspective of foreign direct investment into Maldives, that a group entered into an agreement with an existing authorities, and then there is a change in the regime, and the new regime comes and says that, hey, this is not all right, and therefore make the agreement null and void. Doesn't it kind of discourage investors to come in and invest into Maldives? Couldn't there have been a better way to approach this? Maybe sit to the table and negotiate with GMR on how can this best be solved?
All right. For the last 8 months, this government has been calling GMR up for negotiations on the discrepancies and shortcomings on the agreement that to comply with our rules and regulations in this country, the legal system in this country. GMR has not been proactive, and GMR has not come forward. The major sticking point was the ADC thing, which was legally not possible in this country. And the other thing that we inclined to believe is that this agreement was made under dubious conditions, and there are still a certain amount of finances that have been unaccounted for. I would rather not make a statement on the amounts and figures and all that. However, on the issue of foreign investments, let me tell you this: the termination of this contract, which was signed under dubious conditions, only provides assurances to other foreign investors who wants to be investing in that business in Maldives is clean, fair, and safe.
It's just a question of how, if indeed there is a regime change again, Mr. Masood, is what happens then, because the next regime might just say that the agreements done by your government might not be exactly clean. I'm not getting into debate there. Just one quick question, sir. GMR says that the cabinet decision was unilateral and irrational because there is a legal arbitration over the deal which is currently on in the Singapore High Court.
Yeah, that was on the arbitration was on the ADC issue. It's not on the termination issue.
Okay. One final word. You did mention at the start or somewhere midway when we were talking that you are also talking to the arbitrators to figure out a sum of compensation. Should indeed this work out in your favor, you are looking forward, or you already begin the proceedings of figuring out what's the kind of compensation that you will be providing GMR. Could you give us some explanation on that?
No, I don't know exactly how much, and what are the conditions of arbitration. I'm not a legal guy, but the process is going.
Surely you have an idea of what your government believes is the total investment by GMR. You clearly not agreeing with me on the $220 million investment figure.
Well, see, this is my personal opinion on the 220 figure, but I'm sure GMR's got figures. I'm sure the airport company that handed over the airport was asked to hand over the airport to GMR during the former regime has its figures, and so why don't we just leave it for arbitration rather than us making preconceived judgments and assumptions?
Fair call.
I'm sure the Maldivian government will respect any outcome of the arbitration.